My name's David Savage. I'm the Group Technology Evangelist at the Harvey Nash Group, and I'm very lucky to be joined today by Konstantin, the Exec Director of the IT Ukraine Association. Konstantin, how are you?
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here. We are working from Ukraine now, and in nearest time I will tell you and answer your questions regarding what is going on in real life in Ukraine during these very challenging and hard times.
I've got to admit, how are you is a question that I open so many interviews with without thinking. And on this occasion, it obviously carries a lot more weight. And when we were preparing for this a couple of days ago, you, I suppose, brought the reality of this to life a little bit by not wanting to tell me exactly where you were located because of the fact it might make you a target for missiles. But at the same time, telling us that you wanted to apologize if your internet dropped out because the kids were trying to attend school online. And this very real jarring kind of mixing of something that many of us will be very familiar with homeschooling throughout the pandemic in the last 2 years, and obviously the horrors of the reality that you're faced with now on a daily basis. So when I say, how are you, genuinely, how are you today and what's your situation?
So we are okay, and now I'm just right now I'm working. Kids are having online lessons, and then with them at home, it's harder to have work calls, as all of us experienced during COVID lockdown. Nevertheless, companies and our members of association are operating, and life goes on, and we are on our working places.
Absolutely. Well, look, I introduced you by saying that you're exec director of the IT Ukraine Association. Can you tell us a little bit about the association? You mentioned their members. Who do you represent and how do you represent them?
The IT Ukraine Association is the largest national association of tech companies. Now we represent the interests of more than 100 companies, leading companies in Ukraine, and they employ more than 75,000 IT professionals. We also support them and provide an advocacy in the field of taxation and legal aspects of doing business. And also we implement educational, international, and social projects. Now, during this time, we focused on some other things, but still we represent the tech industry of Ukraine, the most resilient, one of the most resilient and one of the most the industries with a huge potential for further even grow, but after war, of course.
Look, I don't think many people would argue with the assertion that you're resilient right now. I suppose one thing that people might question is how they can potentially work alongside the industry and knowing what kind of businesses there are in the Ukraine. I've been to Web Summit last year. That it felt like there were lots of Ukrainian startups at Web Summit in Lisbon. And at the same time, I know a great deal of organizations who've used the Ukraine as a nearshore development center. What is the breadth of the sector there? Are there 2 or 3 case studies that you can provide just to highlight the strength and breadth of the technology sector in the Ukraine?
So there are actually a good few examples since war started. I can provide you with one is still very fascinating to me. It was happened throughout the first 2 days of war, while most of the citizens were in shock, like we always, this situation is really shocked, not knowing what to do even, and or live in country, I mean, women, children. One of our member companies, I can't share its name, but they had a delivery to make. And their deadline was February 26th, and they made it happen. So, I mean, teammates were backing each other up, starting from where the last one stopped, and it was really a race. And maybe it will sound cliche, but it's that type of responsibility, reliability, and determination that drives us now to continue working. And this is not simple, not only example. But the way now we have provided a recent survey, and most of the companies, almost 85% of the companies, fulfilling their job commitments. And this is good indicator of our capability and our responsibility in front of customers.
You mentioned there about 85% fulfilling the orders, the capabilities of those jobs. How could people collaborate with your sector? You know, organizations in other countries, are there opportunities to work on projects jointly?
So I think maybe this situation make us make our ability stronger to be creative and with being together and collaborate within such hard conditions even. Yeah, with the start of the war, IT professionals have been doing all they can on their own front because they serve army. Part of them joined the army. Some of them joined the cyber front, and mainly people work on their working places, and they make their input by providing services to the customers and getting contracts and getting money for this and putting this money into economy of Ukraine, and again sending money for the different purposes of humanitarian aid and others, and buying other stuff needed here. And by the way, for only for the first 10 days of the war, our member companies donated more than $24 million to the army and humanitarian aid, and this is impressive. And the aid is ongoing. I mean, we continue to do this day by day.
So look, anyone watching this call, anyone working in an organization will undoubtedly have some concerns about potential business risk of engaging with Ukrainian businesses at the moment. Just to kind of go through this in a bit more detail, how could a prospective organization actually engage with your members, and who would they be contracting with?
It's in general, of course, in general up to the organization how it will work like, but we are encouraging foreign companies to continue doing business with Ukraine, no matter the industry, but especially in tech, of course, because they have experience of having business with us, and they know our reliability. And in these conditions, no major changes they can feel or see. So this is first. Second, if any organization already has an ongoing projects with Ukraine, we ask them to continue this, or maybe recommend other partners to consider this starting contracting with Ukrainian companies, with the companies which has development centers in Ukraine. But it doesn't mean that this 100% of developers working from Ukraine, because we have diversified landscape of tech industry, and a lot of companies have development centers in European countries, in the United States, and in Ukraine at the same time. So we can put some most sensitive and risky parts of the projects to the countries which is absolutely safe. I mean, absolutely in the meaning of absence of any war, any military actions. So, and that's why I think media support is also the way of collaboration, to tell about these opportunities, to tell that industry is working and the contracts are safe and the business data are also safe. It's important.
So one piece that was sent through to me prior to this interview, just on that, who are you contracting with piece, was around, is it the association? Is it direct with companies? Is it Ukrainian tech professionals? And you touched on it to an extent there, but do you see your role therefore as being the conduit, putting people in touch, providing advice?
So first of all, any interested organization can contact us directly through our website, for example. We have a possibility and opportunity to connect with reliable partners and recommend some companies. At the bottom of the main page, they can find the email and phone number of our organization, and of course, we have some list of members with some details about their expertise. So you're welcome to choose the one you need and contact us. So, and this another one. We have also collaboration with some platform that is showcasing job opportunities available for Ukrainians who have suffered a job loss, and we will be giving the details on it in the nearest time. I mean, we can also have provide some expertise and specialists directly to the companies if they need. But general information is on our website and LinkedIn page. We also, each day by day, we inform our community about any changes or our activities and projects. So you can find this information there, and we will connect you directly to counterparts you need.
Konstantin, we discussed that we were going to break this into a couple of different sections. The second section, we wanted to prompt some questions, some Q&A that we'd had that had been submitted in advance. So I'm just going to run through some of those questions. The first one was, how are you open for business when you are at war? There was some suggestions, about the resilience of the fibre network, about how you might be working with neighbouring countries, dispersed remote working. It would be great to hear from you how you are remaining open for business, how it is actually practically working.
So, of course, we have I'd like to say we have a list of risks, and as now we have, even now, you see, we have siren here because, but I can remain online. I can remain. So this is, I mean, these risks connected to the first of all, availability and let's say connection availability network for the companies. We have reserved channels, which, by the way, provided recently by Ministry of Digital Transformation due to cooperation with Elon Musk, Starlink satellites connection. And now we have stable fiber optic network for general connection, and we have reserved channels with satellite connections. So this is really helps us to be stable in the meaning of let's say projection of 1, 2, 3 months, because we know that infrastructure is okay. The most maybe the most sensitive thing is general economy, finance system economy of Ukraine, how it will go on and how long this war will last. But anyway, now we're quite optimistic with the basic conditions for tech business, for companies business. More or less, we okay with this. And people, of course, because now we have relocated about 16% of headcount before war. It mainly women, of course, and now about more than 75% of people is working. So I mean that risk we avoid some risks of loss of people, but now the main core teams are working. This give us good, let's say, forecast, at least for nearest future. Let's see what will go on.
You touched there on the financial system. One of the other questions that we've had through, in fact, is how do you transact and make payments?
Yeah, we should admit that it's not surprise, but it's good surprise for us as well that our banking and economy system works very, very good. And in addition to this, recently PayPal system came to Ukraine and activated here, so we can be very. So we have a wide range of tools how to transfer money, how to get money and pay money. Yeah, and this is quite how to say, normal thing. We happy with this, having this. No any. We have one maybe small problem, because some regions of Ukraine are under the sanctions, and some regions of Ukraine which on the east, they with the border of Russia, yeah, because some of the territories were Ukrainian, some of this territory was annexated. So I mean that sanctions covers all the territories, and some companies really have problems with access to their accounts, but it's very small percentage, and mainly small companies. Okay. But we cannot influence on it because sanctions they cover by the territory principle. For example, Google blocks some accounts, or Amazon blocks some accounts, or some data centers block some access. But nevertheless, now it's not critical.
What happens, I'm sorry, this is in two parts, but what happens when the agreed work or project that's being delivered is affected by the war? Normal indemnity insurance liability caps may not apply. So I suppose the question is, how might that work?
So at this moment, I'm absolutely fair. At this moment, we have no such information about such cases. So direct impact or direct loss of the project, maybe we will get some information later, but now still we have more or less positive feedback that everything is manageable. And of course, a lot of customers, they understand that situation is not so simple to predict, but before most of our companies and members, I know exactly, they implemented BCP, and due to this, they reduce these risks to as much as possible. They reduce this risk. But now I have just simply have no such information about this.
Look, we've touched on this in a number of different questions, so forgive me that there's an element of repetition here, but nonetheless, I think it's still an interesting question.
Okay.
How are IT businesses continuing to operate in Ukraine in the current circumstances? As we sit here recording, we can hear an air raid siren going off in the background. So I suppose that brings that question into sharp focus, right?
Due to the measures taken by the companies, they relocated teams and people to the most safe places in the territory of Ukraine. It gives us a real opportunity and possibility to continue business and to be let's say, to have manageable situation regarding the people, their safety, and their connectivity, and their productivity as well. So this is the answer. And even in the cities which is under this, how to say, bombs and etc., there are very, very small people still there. I mean, left there. It's 1-2%. So critically, no critical situation with this.
What can companies dealing with the Ukraine IT businesses do to support them at this moment?
The most support they can provide is to keep on contracting, to keep on working with the partners. And I think if they want to allocate some people abroad, when some people moved abroad, yeah, or provide some office spaces or some logistic, but mainly I think business process should be uninterruptible and contracts should be ongoing. We hope for this, and still we have, of course, some percentage of cancellation of the contracts. I will tell you it's absolutely fair, yes, but it's business, and maybe some of them see the risks. But in the most, the picture looks like now we quite trustable to continue business with us, and the main help is to continue business and say, let's say, others to continue. By the way, you see that what picture we have due to the sanctions to the Russian Federation. A lot of IT people left country. They have left country recently, and as the customers cancel contracts with Russian companies, again, the deficit on the global market for IT specialists remains. And I mean that due to this, I know exact American companies from United States, which now are asking us to provide their recommendations for the providers for the services, which they canceled from Russia, you know. And it gives, again, a chance to Ukrainian companies to have additional contracts from those companies who closed relations with Russian IT providers. And it's good news. It's good news for us as well.
But look, Konstantin, the last question that we had prepared in advance was, why are you and the IT Ukraine Association keen to get this message out now?
We want foreigners to know that even though Ukraine is going through difficult times, what doesn't mean that Ukrainians should let their hands down and just sit it out. We have families to feed, the country to protect, and economy to rebuild. We are working to support our motherland and its citizens, and we are patriots of Ukraine, and everything will be Ukraine.
Konstantin, thank you very, very much for your time. And absolutely, I'm sure that I share everyone's, or carry everyone's sentiments rather, when I say that we hope that you stay safe, that your family stays safe, and have a good weekend, if that is possible in these circumstances, as difficult as it must be.
Thank you, David, and thank all for this opportunity to share with you our thoughts, our emotions sometimes, but thank you for your support. And we say always, Slava Ukraini! Glory to Ukraine!